This weekend on May 3rd, a 20-foot poodle sculpture will race through the streets of Baltimore, and this should matter to you because it could change the way you view yourself. So the Kinetic Sculpture Race is happening this weekend, and I went to school in Baltimore, so I know what a big event it is. It's put on by the Visionary Museum of Art. And if you are someone who said, I'm not an artist, I can't draw a stick figure, the Visionary Museum of Art could change your mind. So visionary art has many names. It's called folk art, you know, it's art made by untrained artists, art made out of an inner need to create. Rebecca Hoffbergers started this museum in Baltimore, and the Kinetic Sculpture Race, which happens every spring, started in '99, although it has its roots in California in 1969. And Rebecca Hoffberger is part of the Hoffberger family, and the Hoffbergers are philanthropists and patrons of the arts in Baltimore. And the Visionary Museum really changed the way I view art and artists, because there were people from all walks of life who had never been trained, and yet they had to make art. They made out of an inner need. So I started to get my own personal experience with visionary art when I went to South Africa in 2010. I went there to look at community art. Actually, community art could even be considered visionary art, because community art is art made with people, not just for them. It's not like public art, but you know, it's art for the public good. I was interested in community art in Baltimore, and I went to South Africa to study community art there. Well, what I ended up studying was the artwork of people in prison. And there was a great, oh, hey bird. There was a great program called Phoenix Zululand, and I got to volunteer with them and help out an art therapist there. And their art programs in prisons created some incredible art, and that's what I ended up writing my thesis on, and analyzing their art and looking at it stylistically. And I found a lot of like common themes in it, and images and symbols. It was very meaningful, impactful work, and I'm really glad I had that opportunity, because making art as a way to cope, I think when I was younger and I didn't have a lot of problems, I thought, that's kind of a cheesy way to make art. I'm a serious artist. But so many serious artists made art to cope. I mean, when you think about Edvard Munch's The Scream, which is a really popular painting, I think it's so popular because it's cathartic. It's an emotional release. There's a diary entry that he wrote that said when he was witnessing a sunset, there was like a scream moving through his body, a scream that like came from nature. But a lot of people think that painting is about existential dread and inability to cope with the world. So even within the art world, yes, Munch had some training, but he was largely self-taught. And there's a lot of artists like that who are famous artists today. I mean, even Vincent van Gogh, one of the most famous artists, did not have a lot of formal training. He was a preacher for a while. So the reason you can start to think differently about you being an artist, yes, you could consider that you are an artist. The reason that's valid is because if you have an inner need, if you want to be creative, it doesn't actually matter the output or what you create. It doesn't matter if it's good. Art doesn't have to be good. If you just want to doodle, you could consider yourself an artist. An artist is just someone who makes art. So here's the moment that I kind of switched my thinking about art therapy. I make art because it's good for me. When I started teaching in 2014, I was drowning. It was so hard, and it took a toll on my mental health. And I used art as my coping tool. Even though all through high school I considered myself a serious artist, all throughout college, my degrees in painting, I really thought that I was going into the world to be a fine artist. To be a painter would be great. It's kind of hard to figure out. I kind of reserved art for that role in my life. But then when I got a job and it was hard and a lot of things were hard, I went to the beach and I painted. So I started realizing that, oh, I am using art almost as therapy. So if you need to do that too, it's a totally valid mindfulness practice or coping practice. And every therapist I've had has told me that it's really important that I make time for art and being in nature too. This is Boyd Hill Nature Preserve in St. Pete, Florida. You can kind of see downtown back there, my hometown. So really grateful to be able to be in nature and have the time and space to make art. So the Kinetic Sculpture Race that's happening this weekend in Baltimore, those sculptures, these huge human-powered moving sculptures, the ones that the Visionary Museum owns, they actually are housed in the museum. So please go visit that museum. It's amazing. You're gonna see absolutely incredible art. And it's all made by artists without formal training. Like, no one knighted them artists. They just had to make art, and that's the most important thing. Yeah, sometimes the outcome is absolutely incredible. Sometimes it's underwhelming. But if you want to be inspired to make art, go see the Visionary Art Museum. You can see the big pink poodle, and you can see the other kinetic sculptures. Your art doesn't have to be complicated or realistic. Art is just good for the soul, so go ahead and make it today. You can probably tell this is a new YouTube channel. This is one of my early videos, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.